If you're big enough or if you're small enough, if you're somewhere in between, it probably doesn't make sense. So I think we're back to like, do you have the capability to actually do it? So of course, like, when you're spending $1 million a day, like, some of the people we work with, um, the VIG that the agency gets is expensive. But they're doing everything. So there is an appetite, CFOs like, hey, listen, can we save the XYZ dollars? That would be great. And of course, like in principle, that's great, but you have to hire staff that is going to go ahead and do all of this stuff that you probably don't know how to do. And those people are like, they're not expensive and they're not cheap, but like, you have to have additional heads in order to do that. And those heads are very, very specific to like, do I know how to operationalize it in a specific ad network? So there is quite a bit of like knowledge that you need to have to do that. So you end up having to hire a full team to do this. And then of course, there's just the natural thing that happens when you have an agency, when you're buying them from, like when you're buying from them is like, the chief marketing officer will just be like, oh my God, we have to call the agency. This is completely fucked. Like, why isn't this thing performing? Now, that's not what happens. You call like the people that report to you and you're like, what's going on here? And it creates a different kind of action because now it's just like everybody's like, this is a fucking fire drill. What are we going to do? Oh, like data, Excel spreadsheets, PowerPoint deck. Why didn't this perform? And then you find out like, oh, okay, like, it's because the election was happening. And because of that, it costs so much more money to go ahead and like push ads during that time. Like CPMs are much higher. These are just like things your agency would prepare you for as an example, heading into it. So it's just, something goes from like you're talking to the agency to everything being friendly fire every single day. And whether you have the organizational fortitude to actually like, withstand that. In an ideal world, what you would do is the agency would not report into the chief marketing officer, but it would actually be an agency, like it would report into a different arm and it would be a service organization that would be set up in such a way where you go ahead and you make a request, you actually have to fill out the sheet, like this is the campaign plan, whatever, all of those things. These are the beats, these are the target audiences, whatever all of that is. And you would run it like that and almost be like a chargeback situation internally, at least, again, to sort of defend like the agency itself. I mean, these are, not everything works all the time. So, the tactics that are created may or may not work, but like we need to make sure that we learn from them. But mostly this is that the agency itself and the way that it gets funded needs to be a little bit like it's obviously tied to budget, but also needs like organization to be split. From the chief marketers or whoever's requesting this. That's that way, like it is like a client service organization, even if it's within the organization. Like with the agencies themselves, they already have existing relationships for a long time because remember they're spending millions and millions of dollars regardless of client through these, right? As an example. So, they have a hotline when they're just like, oh, okay, hey, I got to call Julia, like something isn't working right. Like what's going on? Julia at Google, like, hey, what's up? And you're like, oh, okay, let me press a button on the board and then it starts working. When you do that in-house, you probably don't have people with the hotline number, with like with the relationship with the ad networks in the same way, and you need to build those. So on day zero, you do not have that. You're like trying to figure out who to call, right? You have your sort of ad interface open. You're hitting the upload for the images or whatever. You're getting back tags. You're doing all of those type of things, allocating budget. And then when it's not doing what it's supposed to do, like who do you call? Now what? So there is like a bit of care and feeding just on the relationship side to get there. And that's not just, you just don't have that on day one.